If you press log out, you get forgotten what's supposed, but a reminder just how boring our lives are. Look at how much fun I'm having, ain't no beauty in the
Brave 2012 started produced by Brenda Chapman, and then Mark Andrews took over after she was removed from the film. I think the first half of this film is really, really great. I think the relationship between Merida and her mom, the dialogue or the lack thereof, like their communication issues, are portrayed extremely well. There's like a scene where they're both talking to each other but in different parts of the house, and they're literally responding to each other's qualms and having the same issues. Merida is a really cool character. The way that she kind of rejects the world and the princess roles that are thrown on her, and how talented she is in the wilderness and with bow and arrow. She's like, it's really, really cool. Really like the Scotland setting is pretty cool. It's just different. But after the whole thing with the bear and we find out the potion, like I feel like this movie really takes like a huge nosedive. To me, it feels like a last minute thing where like they just did not trust that the audience could be interested in a story just about a mother and a daughter not getting along. They kind of threw in the bear thing as a gimmick. That's what it came off to me as. I think one of my big issues with the bear concept is that like the mom doesn't talk, which low-key they could have still kept her as a bear and then make the film about both of them talking to each other and actually like working out their differences, just by showing the audience that these two actually can reconcile the differences and fully explain their side of the argument. But we don't. They kind of just rely on some quick gags with the bear and the misunderstandings and everything, which are so predictable. I don't know. The second half of this movie, I really just kind of checked out at. There's a lot of really cool potential in the first half.
There was a lot to sit through. I really couldn't bear it. Like, obviously, I get the point of they're trying to convey the mom becoming a bear, so she can like sit down and listen to her daughter instead of like, you know, the first thing that comes out of her mouth openly judging her. I think that's not the problem I have with this movie. There's highs that this movie reaches that I feel like you can show scenes of like something that was going to be there, but them changing directors prevented it from actually like showing what it was trying to convey. I mean, like, two scenes that really stuck out to me was Meredith showing off that she has the skills to like, you know, win for herself in marriage, and also the scene at the end where she's talking to all the leaders and conveying that it's okay to break tradition. There was just a lot that it's like you can see the tonal shift when they change directors. Like the first 30 minutes of the movie were great. I mean, they were setting up everything in the movie, or at least take out the plot with more due. He's kind of like a whatever. Like he's an evil bear that's just in the woods and like trying to convey like old folk tale that like was actually real the whole time. And then at the end, the father doesn't even get to fight Mordu. It wasn't a lot to be like desired, at least.
Her not talking is such a big issue to me, because in any other film, especially like Disney films where a character turns into an animal, a big part of it was that the characters were still able to talk and were still able to actually interact with other characters. The fact that she just doesn't, and her dialogue, or the dialogue between her and her daughter, is like my favorite part of the film, is like the biggest letdown to me, because I'm losing a whole perspective now in the second half of the film.
There's not a lot of things to feel about this movie. It's just kind of just like you sit through it and like
there's a lot of missed potential.
Yeah, it had the plot and then just kind of lost it.
This is actually, I would make a case for this one actually benefiting from a sequel, because at least give him another chance to at least take this world and like Merida as a character and have a more focused story. Like, don't just cut off the director midway through her film, but like this time let her actually go work top to bottom and like allow her to have a second chance. For me, this film, the best thing about it is the potential it had. Like the things that it was setting up in the beginning could have been so cool.
If they plan on bringing the original director and creator back for this movie, I feel like she'll probably want to restart everything, because it wasn't where she wanted to leave it off.
I think people love the ideas of Brave rather than Brave itself. Honestly, this entire segment, justice for Merida. She's an amazing character. She had so much potential. Monsters University 2013, directed by Dan Scanlon. I did not expect to love this film as much as I did. I think when you hear the premise of what if we follow Mike and Sully, but when they're in college? It sounds like a very boring, like kind of a bland idea, but really the character work in this film is on a different level. Like, this film genuinely adds so much to your understanding of the first one, but even as just a standalone thing, I love this movie so much.
There's not a lot to say that like sullies the movie at all. It does everything so great. When watching this movie, especially as a kid, you see college as like this magical experience. And now, because we are in college, we can see that they weren't wrong about a lot of the stereotypes, or at least how people act in general while they were in college. So I found it so interesting to like see how Mike and Sully interacted, at least when they first meet, because Sully's like, oh, I'm a Sullivan. I don't need to like study. I can just get in wherever I want. And you see Mike putting in hard work and effort, showing that no matter how good you think you are, as long as you put hard work in, other people can step up to the plate.
Genuinely, this duo was rivaling Bugs and Woody in my mind for like the best Pixar duo, because literally both of their characters worked in hand to make each other better. The fact that you have someone like Mike who knows everything about scaring, he studies the books, he's well read, he's well researched, he works hard, but still doesn't have the scaring factor. And you meet his complete opposite, someone who has the scare factor but doesn't put effort into knowing the basics, learning or studying. And the fact that they work together and they're able to accomplish the greatest feat that university has ever seen. That duo, and to see them go from enemies to like genuine brothers, really warmed my heart, because these two genuinely are an amazing duo. They balance each other out extremely well.
Yeah, they have so much chemistry that like you just can't help but smile when watching them. I mean, especially in the final scene, seeing them scare actual adults. Couldn't have done it while Mike, and him showing how much he appreciates Mike by them working up from the mailroom and getting to the position they're at right now just shows how dedicated they are, especially now that Sully believes in hard work that Mike was able to show him.
Because the film really wants to push the idea of hard work over talent, which is a very important message for everyone, I think, to hear. But the film also doesn't just baby Mike and to say that, oh, just because he believed in himself, he's able to do it. But the film has an emphasis on like a realistic aspect of like, okay, the door clearly isn't open for him no matter how hard he tried. But just because he couldn't get through, it didn't mean that he had to stop. It's a very like realistic, reminds me almost of Peanuts in a way. And I say Peanuts because Peanuts is a franchise that is directed towards children, but they have like a lot of heavy-hearted messages to their audience that sometimes feels like a little bit like a hard reality check. If you've ever been in any experience or in any place where you're constantly told you don't belong here, you should not be here, this is not meant for people like you, how disheartening that must feel, how out of place you must feel in that type of environment. But this film just adds an answer and just adds like a light to a topic I feel like we don't get discussed too often. My favorite parts about Monsters, Inc. was the music and the score. They had the same composer come back for this one, and bro absolutely smokes it. They're utilizing a marching band motif throughout this entire thing, just like a regular university campus would have. And some of the music in here is incredible. This movie is funny. There were moments in here I would have to replay like 2 or 3 times because some of the jokes they get off in this movie got me cracking up.
I would watch this movie again. I mean, you can sit down, watch this movie, and have a good time.
I think Monsters University is like it's a sleeper gem because it's very unassuming by the idea of it. But when you watch the film and actually see how it explored themes of nepotism, of hard work, of talent, those themes in this film really are explored extremely well. Inside Out, 2015. Pete Docter. My relationship with this movie has changed so much. I remember when it came out, I remember seeing it advertised on TV and just kind of loving the fun-looking colors, colorful characters. It's a film that I go back to a lot, and the more that I go back to, the older that I get. It's one of those films that, just like a lot of these Pixar films before, reward you for going back to it at an older age and you learn more about the world and about the people in it. I would make the argument it's Pixar's most creative film, because it has to deal with the human psyche with the human mind, about emotional development. And of course, it uses it to get off some cheap jokes. You know, there are a couple of jokes in here that they kind of just wanted to experiment with. But there's also some really elaborate set pieces and design switches and really interesting ways that they personify the human mind and emotions. I love the cast of characters here. All 5 of these emotions. It's funny because they literally have only one personality trait, but I loved watching them bounce off each other. The writing that goes into Joy, because I think Joy is a character that they could have struggled to make just a one-note antagonist the entire time, and she's definitely in the wrong for the majority of the film, but she's also the leading vanguard that holds Riley together. Like, a lot of people are relying on her to take care of Riley, and they do a great job not entirely making her the villain, but also making sure that the audience understands that her controlling nature is the issue. I think it's such a bold and it's a very difficult thing to pull off in a children's film, but like the theme of sadness being okay or sadness being important for kids to experience. The film offers a different answer and says feeling sad is actually important to make the happier moments feel even better. You won't feel those happy moments without sadness coming to balance it. I think the thing that I love the most about Inside Out is just how creative it is. Like, this is the golden standard for Pixar, in my opinion. Let's take little stuff that people don't really think about and let's make a whole film about it.
I can objectively see it from any standpoint that it's a very creative film. Everything about it, the characters, the dialogue, all the different colors, the soundtrack. Like, there's so many things to love about this movie. But then there's some parts that make me angry. Sadness obviously learns throughout the movie like what her strengths are, because she thought she can not do anything and she was a failure, and we realize at the end of the movie that's not the case. But at least in the beginning of the movie, if someone tells you not to touch something and you touch it and mess it up, it's like, oh no, I messed it up, but I didn't know that was gonna happen, and then kept doing it after repeatedly telling not to do it. I think without Joy, I mean, obviously in real life, but like while Joy in this movie, she's more the protagonist than I think any of the other characters are.
She definitely is a protagonist, absolutely.
But you consider her an antagonist because of her controlling nature. But then also, I feel if she's the main emotion, I think that's fine for her to be controlling because no one else there can handle it. Because we saw how fear, disgust, and anger dealt without joy and sadness, and they were a complete mess. I don't want to call it mid because I feel like a lot of people can just say, oh, this movie or TV show is mid, that means it's bad or it's terrible. But at least for me, I think it does so many things well, but I wouldn't look back on watching this movie and saying, yeah, I would want to watch Inside Out again, at least compared to other movies that we have watched beforehand. Obviously, Inside Out has a special message, and if it felt like it was going into your personal experiences, then that's fine, because every movie is different for everyone else. But at least from my point of view, that Inside Out isn't at least the movie for me, or at least I didn't put myself in the perspective of Riley. Sadness throughout the movie, obviously she was able to learn all these things because Joy told her to read the manuals, and it's so difficult to explain this movie.
I think hearing your response solidified why I think Joy might be one of my favorite, at least I think one of the best written characters in the Pixar movies so far, because you can't describe Joy in one word, good or bad. I think the film does an amazing job of making you understand that, like, yes, Joy is the main emotion. She's obviously the main character, and she's responsible for making Riley who she is. But then it's also like we get to explore a different side of her and you understand that, like, you know, it's also the other emotions that also contribute to who Riley is as well. I think one of the things that I noticed, at least this time compared to last time, was that a lot of the weight that Joy had to carry to make Riley happy was reliant on her family. Like, there's a scene where the mother explains to Riley, listen, it's a hard time right now, we're kind of struggling, but if you can keep being happy for us, we would really appreciate it. So the happiness feels like it's out of a sense of duty. My parents are relying on me, things like I can't ruin everything. And that's why Joy feels even more of an urge to take control. And I think the film just does a great job with Joy and putting her in that morally gray category. Because, like, you could definitely reward her and her accomplishments for what she's doing for Riley, but also take a step back and understand that she's not always the best person for the job, and she has to learn that to be a great leader is to understand that, listen, all the parts of the team are what matters.
All the emotions just never talk to each other, which is, I think, a little, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of a plot hole to me, because I feel like, obviously, Sadness would not be treated as well, because imagine they were all like co-workers, right? If there was a character or a co-worker like Sadness, not a lot of people want to be around her. I mean, Sadness and Joy have been with Riley since she was born, and by the end of the movie, Riley's 12 years old. So they have 12 years together, and just now are figuring out what each other are like. I feel like if Sadness was trying to speak most of the time, and then because of Joy not listening to her just like messing up the memories and like, oh, I don't know why I didn't. It's kind of just like Joy just didn't realize what Sadness could do. I guess she never got the chance previously to do it, but couldn't they have spoken about it? Because it's shown that the emotions, like, they talk to each other outside of making decisions for Riley.
I think it speaks to the relationship between the two. The thing that Joy does is that she completely rejects who Sadness is. Like, constantly throughout the film, she is training Sadness to not be who she is. Joy knows that Riley can't be sad and does everything in her power to avoid. Because Riley is growing up and because she's in a new environment, probably facing the most emotional turmoil that she has experienced up to this point, combined with also the fact that she's right on the cusp of puberty and she's starting to understand herself a lot more. I think Sadness felt the need to be involved, and I don't think it comes from a bad place. I don't think she's trying. Trying to
definitely not. I think they're old enough to understand you can use your words. Like, if she was really fighting hard to try to get show that she was an important emotion, I felt like that would have been a better plot point than, oh wait, I messed this up, now we have to go fix this throughout the whole movie.
I don't think she even knows her own self-worth though. It's not even like she knows that she's an important emotion, because she's constantly being told to stay away. I don't even think Sadness knows how important, because even when they get lost, the first thing that she says is, oh, you're important to Riley, we have to get you back. I don't think Sadness even has the emotional capability to understand that, oh, I'm an important emotion. I think it's just a moment where none of the emotions know what's going on, and they're all kind of frantically trying to figure it out, because this is something new to all of them.
I just find her character exhausting. It's kind of hard to root for her. I feel like you can go through that movie and wow, Sadness is I don't really like her.
But she proves herself a lot of the time.
I mean, yeah, proving yourself and liking the character are two separate things. What has Sadness done in the first 10 years of Riley being alive?
Well, she wasn't even allowed to at least be at the table.
Okay, so for 10 years of your life, you're just not going to say anything or do anything?
Because that's what she's literally brought up as. Literally, the entire time Joy is saying, you don't matter, you should not be here.
She never says that.
That's what you can't, you have to stay here. You cannot leave here at all.
Because what Sadness does is, at least as far as an emotion goes, it goes that Sadness just takes over everything, and then none of the other emotions can make their way in.
That's exactly what Joy does. Joy is
isn't Joy a better emotion to have over than Sadness?
You can't have just one without the other, though. That's what the film is trying to
explain. Well, no, obviously you have to mix both of them. But at least how it was going for Sadness was that she was touching emotions, and it was only being Sadness. Not until the end they realize they can work together. Should build up that she can at least feel the emotions, to speak to other emotions and talk about what she feels. But I guess,
doesn't she do that though when she says I should probably take over, and then Joy puts her away?
And Joy makes makes Riley better because of that. Because being upset about moving to a new place is understandable, but when first moving into a new place, is the first thing you want to feel is sadness?
I think you are allowed to feel sad if you move to somewhere.
Sure, you're allowed to feel sad, but is that the first thing you want to do?
If that's honestly how Riley feels, I feel like that's fine.
I don't know. I feel like it's just a whole different ideology. Because we both experienced moving to a new school while having a whole life set up in one specific location. And at least for me, I at least look through things logically, so I feel like that's why this movie really doesn't work for me that well, because I feel like you're able to control. I don't know. At least for me, I can control my emotions. Even since I was younger, I could realize and make decisions that best suit my course of action. Riley's actions that were shown throughout the movie, I couldn't like see myself in that situation. Obviously, you know, everyone's different situation that they live through, but I don't know. I could never feel like I would have like emotion of like, oh yeah, I will run away from home.
Her brain functionally wasn't working. Like,
true.
You know, I'm very empathetic because I know exactly. We both know exactly where Riley's come from. So the fact that, you know, she never gets a moment to actually kind of sit and actually explain to her parents that, like, that's why the scene at the end when she comes back home like hit so hard for me, because like that's really the first time any of them had a real conversation about the things that are going on, and the fact that she gets better because she just was honest to her family and was honest with herself. I like films that teach very hard messages that can be difficult to sum up in one word.
Most people, at least people that are watching this movie, are like the same age as Riley, can feel the same emotions they are, because like, you know, it just didn't work for me because I guess my brain works different, or at least my emotions are different. I'm angry at because of such a disgusting point of view that took away all the joyous feelings I had throughout the movie, and I'm sad you don't have the same perspective I do, and I fear you can't understand this movie.
Good Dinosaur, 2015, directed by Peter Sohn. There's nothing that from the premise and the art that I've seen. I watched the movie one time when I was younger, and I was expecting, because, you know, over the course of this series, I've been surprised by a lot of good movies, and this is just not one of them. I'll keep my thoughts very short because I don't even think this movie deserves a long form discussion. Nothing in here is very captivating. I only see you really enjoying this movie if you are a big dinosaur kid growing up. It borrows a lot from other films and does none of their strengths well. We were talking about it before, but if you ever watch Ice Age, Ice Age is better. You ever watch Bambi is better. You ever watch Lion King's better. It really is just a film that, on a very basic premise, doesn't do anything challenging or show you anything new. It's a movie that you kind of just put on in the background.
This movie is just generic. Like, it doesn't do anything special. I just thought the concept was cool because doing research into this, the trailers that led up to this movie were kind of like going over the concept of what if the dinosaurs never became extinct and they actually like live along humans. But that concept is never explored throughout the whole movie. We have Arlo and Spot. Those are the two technical main characters. I mean, it's more like just pet and owner. Also, I can say I hate the characters' design. They're just ugly. I just feel like they'll be at least cool to look at, but I feel like all the characters are like kind of like soft, at least how they're like created.
But they probably still want it to be marketable, so they can still make merch.
Who's buying a Good Dinosaur toy? You can buy any other dinosaur toy and that would be cooler. I don't know. They do a good thing with the landscapes. Like there's those scenes where like they were climbing the mountain and then they put their heads above the clouds to see like the sun.
That's a great shot.
There are some sweet moments where like the movie's just a slog to get through, and you're just kind of bored throughout the whole movie.
Finding Dory, 2016. The man Andrew Stanton is back. This is one of those films where the premise I undersold just because I think Dory is another character. The issue with a lot of these like comedic characters in these Pixar films, it's very hard for them to carry films on their own because they're just kind of there to juxtapose the main character. So I wasn't entirely excited to hear that she was going to lead a film, but boy was I wrong. This movie, in a lot of ways, brings up some interesting things I didn't even think about too much watching that first movie. For one, Dory as a protagonist actually is really, really cool. She has an arc. It's about her and her family, and there's like a whole arc about her family not knowing what to do with their like disabled child. It's like some of those scenes actually hit very personal, especially if you know people who are affected by any mental illness and like trying to navigate how to, especially as parents, how difficult that might be. But she also learns about like overcoming what people say about her and what people say about her illness and trusting in herself. Like by the end of the film, she's almost a completely different character. She's not as quick to blame herself for certain things. She's much more capable. And the journey that she takes this entire film is actually really engaging to follow. All the new characters that we get in here, Destiny, Hank, I actually enjoyed all of them, and they all really contribute to the story. This film really helps to set things up and also pay off different storylines and character arcs.
I mean, especially with like the final scene, like
Absolutely.
literally all the characters we see in the movie that get introduced are all there in the final scene. This movie does a lot of things right, especially with how they introduce characters. I feel like they have a problem, they introduce a character, and then it goes from there. Hank was to go throughout the whole movie.
My biggest issue with the film, I feel like some parts do feel very sporadic, some parts do feel very rushed, especially early on. They kind of just throw you into the plot, where I feel like, especially comparing it to the first Finding Nemo film, where that first 30 minutes is a slow burn, where you really understand why Marlin is the way that he is. This one kind of just throws you into the film and expects you to learn how to swim yourself. But besides that, though, I mean, it's a very sweet film. The theme is great. Love the characters. It's also super funny, which I did not expect. I actually laughed a lot when I was watching this movie. It's a pleasant surprise. I just really had a good time.
I was pleasantly surprised throughout this whole movie. Side characters get their own like spin-off series. Like we see this fail time and time again. I was surprised about how at least Dory was acting. I feel like, I mean, I told you this, that this movie is kind of just to boost Dory's PR. You know, like, make sure you, like, feel bad for her. But she has, like, a rough childhood with having to live alone all her life. It's not, like, the worst movie ever, but, like, It's, like, kind of, like, in the middle of the road. Like, cool movie. Like, was it necessary, do you think?
I don't think it was necessary, but for what we got, like, I'm not upset with it.
Yeah, I mean, we got some backstory for Dory, and then, like, we got to see the characters that we love.
I don't know. It's doesn't do things as well as the original Finding Nemo, so I'm not saying it's.
I feel like the journey was way more of a task than like what they did, because it's all centered around an aquarium.
Yeah,
and which I think it's cool to like delve into those topics, because we go from ocean to like, you know, being a pet in like a dentist's office, but then this is like a whole different thing where it's like an aquarium that's meant to like take care of these fishes, and then like, you know, release them. Yeah. They technically weren't even being released; they were getting moved to a different aquarium across the country. So it was a crazy, like, you know, final scene.
Yeah,
like Hank
driving like Speed Racer.
I don't know. It's just funny. And then like the serious moments, like when she thought her parents died, like those, like I like the dramatic scenes, especially when she even found her parents. She's like alone, and she's like, "Wait, I remember those seashells." And then she finds her seashells and brings it back to her parents.
Right.
I think those scenes, because not being fast paced, like improve the quality of like the whole movie.
So definitely, if you are a big fan of that first movie, this one's actually a cool addition, in my opinion. I don't think it's on the same quality, but it's definitely not a downgrade too much compared to some other sequels. Like I enjoyed this one.
Let me find the door and leave.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Cars 3, 2017, directed by Brian Fee. This film does two things extremely well right off the bat. First thing, it completely ignores Cars 2. Great first step. Amazing first step. But then it also grows alongside its audience. This film feels like it's directed towards the people that grew up with the first movie all the way back in the early 2000s, that are now coming back years later to watch this one and finding that the main character has literally aged with them. Brings back Lightning McQueen, and also Doc as well, who damn near feels like a main character. He gets so much more development in this film. He's not even really there. The theme of learning when to step down and to pass the mantle to another generation. The relationship between Lightning McQueen and Cruz here, I think, was really, really interesting, because it starts off with Cruz being a trainer, and it turns McQueen into the mentor, and then Cruz as the racer. And to see McQueen navigate what mentally he'd gone through, especially considering how he's at a phase of his life where everyone's telling him how old he is. He's just not fit for the racing game anymore. To kind of come up with that, especially through Doc, learning more about Doc, kind of following in his footsteps, about just being able to still do what you have to do regardless of what anyone else has to say and finding your own way to do it. It's a pleasant surprise. I think this movie is the best in the trilogy, but the reason why I'm putting this one ahead of the first one is mainly because of what it does, what it says, especially for Lightning McQueen, and how much they work hard to show the circle of influence between Doc, Lightning McQueen, and Cruz.
People really don't talk about this movie that much. Like, yeah, I feel like it's more like the underrated category for Pixar films. I feel a lot of people talk about the first one, and then everyone talks about, oh, the second movie's so bad, so that means the third one has to be bad. But this is actually the first time I actually watched this. There's also so many great scenes in this movie too. Like, well, first off, Cruz doing the same flip that Doc and Lightning did during the final race.
Yo.
McQueen like stepping up and helping Cruz, like motivating her, because that's what she was trying to do the whole movie. But then realizing that he can be a trainer for her because he knows that she has the horsepower to like actually be a great racer. This is a lot darker of a movie, I feel. I mean, you know, no Mater to like counteract like you know the sad moments. But I think it does a great job. I mean, especially what you said with just like aging with the audience. I'm just pleasantly surprised. I mean, I don't know what more to say about it.
I'm gonna be ratty real quick, and this is where my agenda has to fit. I joked about it while we were watching it, but I'm gonna say it right now. This movie gives One Piece vibes. Now let me explain, let me land. If you know anything about One Piece, you have to understand a big part of One Piece is about the power of influence. So many scenes where Luffy is fulfilling prophecies that he's not even aware about. And then the scene where Cruz does the same flip as Doc gave me the exact same feeling I got when I see like Luffy enact any act that like reminds other people of Roger or of Shanks. The pacing is super well. They give you enough time to mourn Doc, and gives you moments of like Lightning McQueen struggling mentally, trying to figure out where he fits in the entire racing world.
I think it still does a good job just conveying the message that like you have to motivate other people, and it's okay to like, you know, leave the mantle and like push it on to the new generation. You know, McQueen is like the LeBron. You
are my sunshine.
You know, athlete that like, you know, is way past their prime.
No, so he's LeBron.
Not LeBron though. Not
he's LeBron. Okay.
LeBron is right. He's still in his prime. New rookies come and just take his place, and then like he just gets left behind. The same thing happens with McQueen. Kind of have to give this a 0 out of 10 because you know, no Mater, because that was my favorite part.
It would have been so easy during the training sequence to let Lightning McQueen pass Cruz. That's kind of what they were setting up in the beginning. But like, there's a really awkward moment where it's right before the race and McQueen actually fails. He doesn't even pass her at all. But I just love that dedication to like not babying the audience, to say if you believe in yourself, anything is possible, right? It's a much more complex message than just that. It's about like, hey, listen, this is the reality.
You might not be able to always do it, and then like it's okay. Like you have other like
other ways to still contribute to the
especially like, you know, if you can still do the things you love, just do it in a different way.
It's a great ending to the trilogy. I don't know if they plan on Toy Story in this franchise, but for what this is to end a trilogy, it's a fantastic ending.
Third time's the charm.
Everybody insecure, especially people with everything. Why you think they got everything? How would you think they got it? Ooh. Everybody insecure, especially people with everything. Why you think they got everything? How would you think I got everything? Look.